For many years, historians and seekers have asked a hard, almost embarrassing question. If the Christ walked among us as flesh and blood, why did certain things not make it into the book they handed you? And today I am going to reveal to you something they buried so deep you were never meant to find it. And the 3 foods he warned against? They are in almost everything you consume today. 3 specific foods, 3 sacred prohibitions, 3 keys to why your prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. What if I told you the reason you can't feel the monad, the reason you can't access the frequency of the Eternal One is sitting on your dinner plate right now? Not metaphor, not parable, literal food. The Archons knew this. They've known it for 2,000 years, and they've been feeding it to you since birth. This is not about health. This is about frequency. This is about the war for your divine spark. And if you stay with me, Seeker, you will never look at a meal the same way again. Let's go back. Not to the sanitized version of the story, but to the hidden scrolls, to the texts they called heretical, to the fragments buried beneath Egyptian sands and locked away in Vatican vaults. In the Gospel of Thomas, discovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, Jesus speaks in riddles. He speaks in codes. He speaks to those who have ears to hear. And in several of these forbidden sayings, he warns about consumption, about what enters the body, about what defiles the temple. But the Church interpreted these as moral lessons, symbolic gestures. They were wrong. The Gnostics knew better. They understood that the body is not just a vessel, it is an antenna, a receiver, a tuning fork for divine frequencies. And just as certain metals conduct electricity better than others, certain substances in the physical realm either amplify or block your connection to the pleroma, the fullness, the realm of light beyond this shadow prison. Jesus wasn't teaching diet, he was teaching spiritual technology. And the 3 foods he warned against? They are in almost everything you consume today. Before we go further, Seeker, I need you to do something. If this resonates with you, if you feel the pull of a truth you've always known but never named, subscribe to the Gnostic Archive, because what I'm about to share will not be found in any mainstream commentary. This is knowledge for the initiated. For those ready to step out of the cave, hit that like button. Let the algorithm know there are still those among us who seek the light. And prepare yourself. Because once you hear this, you can't unhear it. The first food is wheat, not modern wheat, not the ancient grain your ancestors ground by hand, but the hybrid, the genetically altered, the dwarf wheat that now dominates every loaf, every cracker, every communion wafer placed on your tongue. In the Gospel of the Essenes, a community many scholars believe Jesus himself walked among, there is a teaching about bread. Eat only that which the fire of life has not destroyed, it says. The Essenes consumed sprouted grains, living grains, grains that still carried the spark of creation within them. But modern wheat is dead before it reaches you, stripped, bleached, irradiated, and it contains something the Archons slipped into the food chain in the last century. Gluten, not the gluten of old, but a mutated protein that binds to receptors in your gut, the same gut the Gnostics called the second brain, the place where emotion and intuition are born. When this mutated gluten enters your system, it creates a fog, a cloud over the pineal gland, the third eye, the gateway to the monad. Scientists call it brain fog. The initiated call it archontic interference. Jesus knew. He broke bread, yes, but it was unleavened, pure, uncontaminated by the hands of empire. The communion wafer you swallow in church today, it is the opposite. It is the demiurge's mockery of the sacred, but it gets darker. The second food is sugar, refined sugar, white sugar, the crystalline powder that flows through nearly every processed thing you touch. In Gnostic cosmology, the Archons are described as parasites, They do not create, they mimic, they feed on human emotion, specifically fear, despair, and dependency, and sugar is their bait. When you consume refined sugar, your body enters a cycle, a rush, a crash, a craving. This cycle mirrors the Archontic strategy of keeping you bound to the material plane, never satisfied, always seeking, but never ascending. The pineal gland, the organ, the ancients called the seat of the soul, calcifies in the presence of excess glucose. It hardens, it dims, your inner vision closes, and the frequency of the monad, which vibrates at the speed of pure light, cannot penetrate the dense fog sugar creates in your blood. In the secret book of John, one of the most sacred Gnostic texts, the Archons are said to have poisoned the rivers of Eden. Not literal rivers, but the rivers of human consciousness. They mixed forgetfulness into the water, numbness into the food. Sugar is that poison made manifest. And the Christ who fasted for 40 days in the wilderness, who ate wild honey but never the processed, who turned water into wine but never touched the fermented excess of Babylon, he knew this. He warned his disciples in private, but those warnings were never written down, or if they were burned. Are you beginning to see it, seeker? Are you beginning to feel the weight of what has been done to you? If so, stay with me. Because the third food is the most insidious of all, and it's hiding in plain sight. But before I reveal it, I need you to pause. Share this with someone who's ready, someone who's been searching, someone who feels the ache of the divine spark inside them, but doesn't know why it won't ignite. This is not entertainment, this is transmission, and the Gnostic archive is the sanctuary for those who remember. The third food is flesh, animal flesh consumed in violence, not the clean fish Jesus ate by the Sea of Galilee, not the lamb sacrificed with intention and prayer, but factory-farmed meat, meat born in suffering, meat pumped full of fear hormones and synthetic growth agents, meat from creatures who never saw the sun. The Gnostics taught that every living being carries a fragment of the pleroma within it, even animals, even plants. But when a creature is tortured, when it dies in terror, that fragment is corrupted. It becomes Archontic energy, dense, heavy, vibrating at the frequency of despair. And when you consume that flesh, you consume that frequency. It enters your cells. It rewrites your emotional baseline. It pulls you down into the lower realms, the realms where the demiurge reigns supreme. Jesus ate fish. He fed the multitudes with fish. But notice, he never slaughtered. He multiplied what was already given. He transformed. He didn't dominate. In the Pistis Sophia, a Gnostic text filled with secret dialogues between Christ and his disciples, there is a passage about the flesh that weighs down the spirit. Mary Magdalene asks him directly, "Master, what must we avoid to rise?" And his answer is clear. Avoid that which is born of violence and fed on sorrow. The church edited this out. They built an empire on meat and conquest, on dominion over animals and earth. But the true teaching, it was always about ascension through purity, through alignment, through consuming only that which vibrates at the frequency of love. Now let's connect the threads. Wheat, sugar, flesh. These three form a trinity, not of light, but of density. Together they create the perfect cage for your divine spark. They lower your frequency so far that the monad, the one, the source, the infinite, becomes unreachable. You pray, but you don't feel heard. You meditate, but the visions don't come. You fast, but the clarity fades the moment you return to your old diet. This isn't your fault. This is design, Archontic architecture woven into the food system itself. The demiurge doesn't need to chain you. He just needs to feed you. And you, in your innocence, in your trust, consume the very substances that keep you asleep. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. It's reversible. The moment you stop feeding the Archons, the fog begins to lift. The pineal gland starts to decalcify. The divine spark within you starts to remember. And the monad, the frequency of the Eternal One, begins to hum through your bones again. This is not about perfection. This is about awareness, about making choices that honor the light inside you. The Essenes had a saying, "Let your food be your prayer." Every bite is a vote. Every meal is a ritual. You are either feeding the demiurge or feeding the pleroma. There is no neutral ground. Let's go deeper into the mechanics, because knowledge without understanding is just information, and the seeker craves more than facts. The seeker craves gnosis, direct knowing. So let's talk about frequency. Everything in this universe vibrates, from the smallest quark to the largest galaxy. And your body, it's a symphony of vibration. Your heart has a frequency. Your brain has a frequency. Even your thoughts emit measurable electromagnetic waves. The monad, the source of all, vibrates at what the mystics call the speed of love. It is pure, unfiltered, infinite. And when your body vibrates in harmony with that frequency, miracles happen. Healing occurs without medicine. Insight arrives without study. Peace descends without reason. This is the state the Gnostics called union with the pleroma. The Buddhists call it nirvana. The Hindus call it moksha. The Christians, back when they still knew, called it the kingdom within. But to reach that state, your vessel must be clean. Your temple must be purified. And the three foods we've discussed, they are static, noise, interference. They lower your vibration so drastically that the signal from the monad can't get through. Imagine trying to tune into a radio station while someone blasts white noise next to you. That's what these foods do to your spiritual receivers. Now, seeker, I know what you're thinking. How do I fix this? What do I eat instead? And that's the right question. But before I answer, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't a diet plan. This is spiritual warfare. The moment you begin to shift your consumption, you will face resistance, cravings that feel overwhelming, social pressure from those still asleep, even strange, vivid dreams where shadowy figures try to pull you back. The Archons do not surrender their prey easily, but you are not prey. You are a child of the pleroma, a spark of the monad wrapped in temporary flesh, and you have the power to reclaim your frequency. So here's the path, not as dogma, but as invitation. Replace the hybrid wheat with ancient grains, einkorn, spelt, grains that still carry the living code of creation. Or better yet, sprout them. Let them come alive before you consume them. Replace refined sugar with raw honey, with dates, with fruits eaten whole, with their fiber intact. Let sweetness come from the earth, not from a laboratory. And as for flesh, this is the hardest one, I know. But consider this. For every meal, ask yourself, was this born in love or fear? If you can't answer that, choose something else. Choose wild-caught fish. Choose pasture-raised eggs from chickens who saw the sky. Or choose plants, legumes and seeds and greens that grow in sunlight and soil. The Christ ate simply. He ate consciously. He ate as an act of communion with creation, not domination over it. Follow that template, and the fog will lift. I promise you. And here's where it gets mystical. Because once the fog lifts, something extraordinary happens. You start to see, not with your eyes, but with that inner sight the Gnostics called the eye of the soul. You begin to perceive the true nature of this world, the illusion of separation, the web of control, the Archontic systems woven into every institution, every screen, every transaction. But you also perceive something else, the shimmering presence of the pleroma bleeding through the cracks, the monad's light hidden in a stranger's smile, in a child's laughter, in the silence between thoughts. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you," not later, not after death, now, right now. but only if you clear the static, only if you purify the temple, only if you stop feeding the beast that keeps you bound. Let me share something with you that didn't make it into any gospel. In the apocryphal Acts of Thomas, there's a story about the apostle traveling to India. He meets a group of mystics who live on nothing but fruit and spring water. They tell him something that changes his understanding forever. They say the body remembers what the soul forgets. Feed it death, and it will crave death. Feed it light, and it will seek the source. Thomas returns to the disciples and shares this, and for a brief, shining moment, they understand. They fast together. They eat only living foods. They drink pure water, blessed with prayer. And in those days the visions come, the healings multiply. The presence of the Christ becomes so tangible they can barely stand it. But then the empire arrives. Rome demands control, and the teachings are scattered, buried, burned, except for fragments, whispers, clues left for those with eyes to see. And you, seeker, are one of them. You wouldn't be here otherwise. Now I want to address something important. Some of you are thinking, this sounds extreme. I can't give up bread. I can't live without sugar. I like meat. And I hear you. The Archons have conditioned you well. But let me ask you this. Who is speaking right now? Is it your divine spark? Or is it the voice of dependency? The voice of the demiurge whispering, stay comfortable, stay numb, stay small. You don't have to change everything overnight, but you do have to start. One meal, one choice, one act of rebellion against the system that wants you docile and dim. Because every time you choose the living over the dead, the pure over the processed, the conscious over the convenient, you strike a blow against the Archontic order. You reclaim a fragment of your sovereignty. You turn the dial even slightly toward the frequency of the monad, and the monad responds. It always does. Let's talk about what happens next, because this is where the real magic begins. Once you start clearing the interference, your dreams change. They become vivid, symbolic, prophetic. The veil between worlds grows thin. You start receiving downloads, sudden insights that feel like they're coming from outside yourself. But they're not. They're coming from the deepest part of you, the part that never forgot, the part the Gnostics called the pneuma, the breath of the Eternal One living inside your chest. You also start to feel people differently. You can sense who's awake and who's asleep, who's radiating light, and who's feeding on energy. This can be disorienting at first, because you realize how few people are actually present. How many are walking automatons, repeating scripts, living loops, but you also find your tribe, the other sparks, the other seekers, and when you connect with them, it's like two tuning forks resonating. The frequency amplifies, the light grows, and the Archons recoil. I need to pause here and invite you again. If this is landing in your soul like a key in a lock, subscribe to the Gnostic Archive, because what I'm sharing here is just the beginning. There are deeper mysteries, hidden symbols, lost rituals, and I'm committed to bringing them to light, one transmission at a time. This is not a channel, this is a sanctuary, a place for those who refuse to sleep. Hit that notification bell, because the next revelation might be the one that changes everything. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Why doesn't everyone know this? Why isn't this taught in schools, in churches, in hospitals? Because, seeker, the truth is dangerous, not to you, but to the systems built on your ignorance. If people knew they could access the monad directly, without priests, without institutions, without permission, the entire power structure would collapse. If people knew their bodies were sacred technology capable of interdimensional communion, they wouldn't need pharmaceuticals, they wouldn't need intermediaries, they wouldn't need saviors outside themselves, and that terrifies the demiurge. So the knowledge is buried, the foods are corrupted, the frequencies are jammed, and anyone who tries to speak this truth is labeled a heretic, a conspiracy theorist, a fool. But you know better. You've always known. You just needed someone to say it out loud. Let's go back to Jesus one more time. Not the Jesus of stained glass and hymns, but the Jesus who overturned tables, who called the religious leaders whitewashed tombs, who said, "I have not come to bring peace but a sword." That Jesus understood something the modern church has forgotten. Awakening is rebellion. Gnosis is revolution. And the path to the monad requires you to break free from every lie you've been fed, including the lies on your plate. He fasted in the wilderness for 40 days, not to punish his body, but to purify his antenna, to clear the channel, to commune with the Father, the monad, without interference. And when he emerged, he was unstoppable. Miracles flowed through him like water, because his frequency was aligned, his vessel was clean, his spark was blazing. You have that same potential, that same divinity, that same power, but you have to choose it. And the first choice? It's on your plate. I want to close with a vision. Imagine a world where every human being remembers, where the divine spark in each person burns so brightly that the shadows have nowhere to hide, where the Archons, starved of fear and dependency, simply dissolve, where the demiurge, exposed as the impostor he is, loses his grip on the creation, and the pleroma, the fullness, floods back into this realm. Heaven and earth reunite, matter and spirit reconcile. The veil tears open, and we see it was always thin. We were always home. We just forgot how to feel it. This is not fantasy. This is the promise of the monad. This is the inheritance of every soul brave enough to seek. And it begins with a single choice, a single meal, a single moment of saying, "No more. I will not feed the beast. I will honor the light within me." So here's your mission, seeker. Starting today, make one shift, just one. Replace the bread, or the sugar, or the flesh, and watch what happens. Watch how your dreams shift, how your clarity sharpens, how the synchronicities multiply. This is not placebo. This is physics, spiritual physics, the laws of frequency and resonance playing out in your very cells. And as you rise, you lift others with you. Your light becomes a beacon. Your choices become a transmission. Your life becomes a living gospel, not written in ink, but inscribed in vibration. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeking. Thank you for remembering. Subscribe to the Gnostic Archive if you haven't already, because there are more secrets to uncover, more veils to pierce, more light to reclaim. This is just the beginning. The monad is calling, and you, seeker, are finally ready to answer. Go now, purify your temple, clear the static, and step into the frequency you were born to embody. The pleroma is waiting, and so am I, until the next transmission. Stay awake, stay sovereign, stay seeking,